Just doing a video on the wheeled lug bolts on it's a 1986 W124 Mercedes 300D. It's a 6-cylinder diesel, but what we're discussing here today is quite a common issue apparently. Now, I'd just like to clarify first up, I am not any sort of expert on this. My brother bought this car and I'm looking after it for a few days, and when it was delivered, by just luck really, I happened to be standing at the front of the house, and when it was brought in, I could hear this ticking noise or bumping as it came out. It was a regular sort of noise, and I realised that it was happening once every rotation of the rear left-hand side, which here in Australia is the passenger side wheel. And so when I had the opportunity, I looked it up and I found that there is quite an issue with the length of the lug bolts. And with these, people who own them will be familiar that they have the handbrake or park brake, emergency brake, whatever you want to call it, assembly inside the hub, which is also, if you're in Australia, reasonably common in, I think there was the Holden Commodore, some models, and that had it. I had a Toyota Camry 1997 model that had it, so it's not all that unusual, but it's it is a bit odd if you're not familiar with it. Anyway, the bolts go through the hub, and if they're too long they will interfere with the brake shoes that constitute the park brake assembly, and obviously you don't want the end of a steel bolt colliding with that. Now, to cut a long story short, and how I worked this out was mainly just by, once again, luck, that the gentleman who sold us the car told us that he or someone else had put in security bolts, locking lugs, or whatever you want to call them. And so because I'd heard it and I realised it was only one thing that was hitting, I thought that would be the first place to look. Now, down here are two of the locking ones. You can see it's got the different sort of head on them, and I'll zoom in there. Hopefully the camera will focus on it, which it looks like it doesn't want to do, but anyway, you can actually see there the difference in the bolt. Now, the one at the closest to the camera is about 25mm, and the one on the other side is pretty well close to 31. I've got a little gauge there, which, if you can't see it, it's right on 30 or 31. Now, that's a considerable amount, and so when I took it out, I looked on the end, and you might be able to see there's like a shiny mark at the top, and on the other one, which is the shorter one, completely black, indicating that somewhere there's been it's been hitting. Now, to my untrained eye, that there looks like it's been bent. Now, yeah, I think as I turn it there, you can see that it's actually out of shape. So that is the one that I took out of the wheel. It was, sorry, it went a bit out of line there. The one on the right there is the one that I took out, and that's the one with the shiny end, and that's also the one that's the longest. And so I have driven the car since, and I haven't heard the bumping noise. And so anyway, if you do get a problem with these things, I would suggest that you have a look at check the length. Apparently there is a difference, and quite a big difference, between if you put alloy or steel wheels on. There's quite a lot of information about that on various Mercedes sites. And then over here again, I think there's a steel wheel as a spare, and in the boot of the car there's these little blokes. Now, when you compare, now the other thing is, you'll notice that this is tapered or conical, and that is all the lug bolts in the vehicle are tapered or conical shape. This one here is apparently called a ball seat, B-A-L-L seat, and you can see quite a marked difference. Now that there, I'm assuming, sorry, I'm looking at that and not realising where I'm trying to film for you nice people. You can see there's a considerable difference, so be also, apart from the length, be very careful that you get the correct, whether it's a conical or tapered, which is the same thing, conical tapered seat, or the ball seat, to suit the actual rim that you are fitting, because you can come to grief. And the other issue is some of the newer models apparently have the M14 bolt head on them, and thread size, and these older ones are M12s, which apparently are narrow, which makes sense, I suppose. But once again, no expert on tyres, no expert on wheels, certainly no expert on lug bolts or wheel nuts or anything else, except I find this style here where you have to hold the wheel in place and then put the bolts in very, very weird. I would much prefer the bolts to be on the hub, and then you lift the actual wheel assembly with the rim and the tyre onto it and slide them on. That's a much easier system, but you know, these people design them for a reason, so I'm not going to argue with them. There must be some excuse that they have for it. But anyway, that's the I'm sorry this is all long-winded like most of my videos are, but just be cautious. If you do put a spare wheel on and it's a steel one, don't be very, very careful that you don't put a lug bolt on that is supposed to be for an alloy, because you can easily screw it in too far and it will just smash your handbrake assembly. Now, having said all that, I've not actually taken the hub off to check it. I'm going to leave that for my brother, and he can have the joy of trying to find out whether it's actually been damaged or not. And hopefully it hasn't been, because it's as I said on the sorry, this one here, it is, I'm just trying to focus in there, has just been touching, just grazing the end of it, but it has been impacted, and so there is always a possibility it has caused some damage. Hopefully not too dramatic, because otherwise we'll be changing the handbrake assembly on it. Alright, well thank you very much, and I hope it helps someone. Bye.